that one gained determination in the face of trouble, and knew that by staying with one's service, he was pleasing Krishna and Krishna's pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Giriraj Swami was he was there right through the whole adventure of Prabhupada establishing things in Bombay, and his book, which describes the whole experience of serving Srila Prabhupada in Bombay, just went to press a few weeks ago. So that'll be out quite soon. Devotees can read that. Very exciting. Okay, so Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Bhakta Vrinda.
So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela, Chapter 4, Sanatana Goswami visits the Lord, text number 71. Taramadye Sava Shrista Nama Sankirtana. Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana. Nirapate Nama Laile Paya Premadhana. This is a tricky one. Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana.
Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana.
Taramadye Sava Shrista Nama Sankirtana.
Taramadye Sava Shrista Nama Sankirtana.
Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana. Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana.
Taramadye Sarva Shrista.
Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana. Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana.
Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana.
Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana.
Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana.
Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana. Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana. Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana. Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana. Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana.
Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana.
Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana. Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana. Taramadye Sarva Shrista Nama Sankirtana. Niraparade Nama Laile Paya Premadhana. Taramadye of the 9 different types of devotional service.
For the 9 different types of devotional service.
Sarvashrestha, the most important of all.
The most important of all.
Nam Sankirtan,
Nam Sankirtan,
chanting of the holy name of the Lord.
chanting of the holy name of the Lord.
Niraparade,
Niraparade,
without offenses.
without offense.
Namadaile,
Namadaile,
if one chants the holy name.
if one chants the holy name.
Paya,
Paya,
begets. Premadhana,
Premadhana,
the most valuable ecstatic love of Krishna.
the most valuable ecstatic love of Krishna.
Translation. Of the 9 processes of devotional service, the most important is to always chant the holy name of the Lord. If one does so, avoiding the 10 kinds of offenses, one very easily obtains the most valuable love of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu gives the following directions in his Bhakti Sandhava. And I'm not going to try and chant this Sanskrit, I'm afraid. Chanting the holy name is the chief means of attaining love of Godhead. This chanting or devotional service does not depend on any paraphernalia, nor on one's having taken birth in a good family. By humility and meekness, one attracts the attention of Krishna. That is the verdict of all the Vedas. Therefore, if one becomes very humble and meek, he can easily attain the lotus feet of Krishna in this age of Kali. That is the fulfillment of all great sacrifices, penances, and austerities, because when one achieves ecstatic love of Godhead, he attains the complete perfection of life. Therefore, whatever one does in executing devotional service must be accompanied by the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The chanting of the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, has been praised by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Namastaka. Nikila Shruti Moli Ratnamala, Duti Nirajita Pada Pankajanta, Ai Mukta Kule Upasyamanam, Paritas Tvam Harinama Samshrayami. O Harinam, the tips of the toes of your lotus feet are constantly being worshipped by the glowing radiance emanating from the string of gems known as the Upanishads, the crown jewel of all the Vedas. You are eternally adored by liberated souls such as Narada and Shukadev. O Harinam, I take complete shelter of you. Similarly, Srila Sanatana Goswami has praised the chanting of the holy name as follows in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Part 1, Chapter 1, Verse 9. Jayati Jayati Namananda Rupam Murare Viramita Nija Dharma Dhyana Pujadi Yatnam Katam Api Sakrid Atam Mukti Dam Praninam Yat Paramam Amritam Ekam Jivanam Bhushanam Ne. All glories to the all-blissful holy name of Sri Krishna, which causes the devotee to give up all conventional religious duties, meditation, and worship. When somehow or other uttered even once by a living entity, the holy name awards him liberation. The holy name of Krishna is the highest nectar. It is my very life and my only treasure. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami says, Etan nirvidyamananam ichatam akuto bhayam yoginam nripa nirnitam hare namanandu kirtanam. Something like that. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Yamaraj says, Etavan eva lokes min pumsam dharma parasmrita bhakti yogo bhagavati Tannama Grahanadibi. Devotional service beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said in his Shastika, Trinadapi Sunichena Tororiva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahani. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Regarding the 10 offences in chanting the holy name, one may refer to Adi Leela chapter 8, verse 24. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parajanasatam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vachaname Nirvishesha Samyavadi Pastichadi Shatarini Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Vachapatitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So of the 9 processes of devotional service, the most important is to always chant the holy name of the Lord. If one does so, avoiding the 10 kinds of offences, one very easily obtains the most valuable love of Godhead. So we've had Shravanam week, and now we're having Harinam week. And the purpose of all of these events, the purpose of any festival, the purpose of any event in Krishna consciousness is to remind us and to convince us that this is the way that we should always live our lives. So the purpose of Janmashtami is to remind us that Krishna appears in our life every day. The purpose of the Christmas marathon is to remind us that we should always be in that spirit of working hard to share Krishna consciousness with others. The purpose of Shravanam week is to remind us that we should always be increasing our hearing and hearing as much as possible about Krishna. And the purpose of a week like this is to remind us that this is always the ultimate conclusion of Krishna consciousness, to chant the holy name of the Lord. This is the Hare Krishna mantra, and this is what Lord Chaitanya came to give. You know, we're followers of Lord Chaitanya. We're followers of the disciplic succession descending Lord Chaitanya, and the message of each and every one of them is this message that Harinam, Harinam, Harinam Eva Kevalam Kalam Nasteva 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 Katiram Yata, that in the age of Kali Yuga there is no other means for self-realization other than the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So this is the process in this age, and this is the goal of our endeavors in Krishna consciousness, is that we come to this stage of chanting the holy name purely, and by the grace of that holy name, we can return back to Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying in the purport that whatever one does in executing devotional service must be accompanied by the chanting of the holy name. So there was a nice story by one devotee. We've told the story quite a few times, so please forgive us for the repetition. But it's a nice story. Once one devotee, back in the early 1970s, he had just joined the Los Angeles temple, and this particular devotee was from a very well-educated background. He was a PhD university graduate, very educated, very academic, scholarly personality. And he had joined the Brahmachari ashram at the Los Angeles temple, and he was a new bhakta, so he was freshly shaved up. And the service that he was given, his daily service, was to take care of all the garbage, to take care of all the trash in the temple. So he was feeling very, is this what I've worked for all these years? Do I not have more to offer the world? So he was feeling a little kind of put upon. And every day, and they had a system there, I guess things, I guess in some places it's still the same now, but like you have these really big sort of wheelie bins that you sometimes see out the back of pubs and nightclubs and restaurants, like these really big, gigantic bins. So they had one of those at the Los Angeles temple. And in typical kind of devotee manner, it was save space, really try and utilize as much as we possibly can for Krishna. So that they would actually climb into the bin and jump up and down inside the bin to kind of crush down all the bin bags so they could fit as much rubbish in as they possibly could so that nothing kind of overly accumulated. So he was doing this every day, jumping up and down inside the bin, wondering, is this what all my life has led to? And one day, one devotee asked him, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm doing my devotional service. I'm doing my service. And he said, you're not doing devotional service. You're just jumping up and down inside a bin. And he said, no, this is my service. And he said, but you're not chanting Hare Krishna. He said, this kind of a little, sometimes we can be a little extreme. But the point is, he understood that, well, if I'm not thinking of Krishna and if I'm not chanting Hare Krishna, is it actually devotional service? It may be that I'm doing some service, but is this service going to bring me to Krishna? If I'm not thinking of Krishna, I think we gave the example a couple of weeks ago as well that we had one devotee in our Liverpool temple, and every week he would wipe the floor of the temple, and he would be listening to his earphones. And Chaitanya Vallabha, who was on the traveling party at that time, he noticed that he was doing very nicely. He was very enthusiastically and attentively washing the floor of the temple. So Chaitanya thought, whatever he's listening to must be really inspiring. So he asked the devotee, this was like a congregation member, community member who was just coming for the Sunday feast every week and liked to help out with the devotees. So he asked this devotee, what are you listening to that's inspiring you so much? They said, well, I'm listening to Public Enemy's new album. So it's service, and we take that service and we offer it to Krishna. And in that way, the service becomes purified. But really, the point we want to come to in our service, whatever our service happens to be, is that as we're doing our service, we're conscious of who we're doing that service for, why we're doing that service. We become more and more conscious. And this is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So the idea is that, and Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, do that as an offering to me, do everything in consciousness of me, always remember me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, worship me. Krishna saying, always remember me. So although it may be a challenge in the beginning, the goal of our sadhana and the goal of our chanting is to bring us to this point where we're always remembering Krishna and we're always thinking of Krishna and we're always chanting Krishna's name. So that whatever service we're doing, we're thinking of Krishna. And it doesn't matter what service it is, we can always fall into the trap. One of my services is addressing the deities, and I can admit, sometimes I've been addressing the deities. Lord Chaitanya's 6 inches from my face, and in my mind I'm thinking of, there's all sorts of weird and wonderful things kind of circulating around in my mind, and I have to keep reminding myself, wait a minute, I'm addressing the deities here. So, and actually, Nrsimha Kavacha Prabhu, who is our minister for deity worship, where last time he came, he made this point. He said, when you're addressing the deities, chant all the time that you're addressing them so that the mind doesn't wander. So whatever we're doing, the thing that really makes it bhakti, the thing that really makes it devotional service, is this remembrance of Krishna and this consciousness of Krishna, thinking of Krishna. And the way we do that is by chanting Krishna's name. And all of this philosophy is here to encourage us to chant the holy name, inspire us to chant the holy name, and to teach us how to chant the holy name. Because chanting the holy name, it can be depending on our state of mind, it can be just practically letters in the alphabet. Where the words are coming out of our mouth, the sound is coming out of our mouth, but in our heart and in our mind, we couldn't be further away from the holy name. So, all hearing about Krishna and hearing all the instructions of Lord Chaitanya and hearing of the pastimes of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya is there to establish and to solidify within our heart and mind, whose name are we chanting? What is my relationship with that person, of whose name we're chanting? What is the mood by which I should chant? So just like at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes Chaitanya's famous which every day, and Srila Krishna Kaviraj Goswami, who's the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that devotees should string this verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it around their necks constantly. Trinadapi Sunichina Tarori Vasahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. And then here at the end of the purport, and also, and in the translation as well, it emphasizes chanting the holy name free from the 10 offenses. So in one sense, we understand, and it's something that we hear a lot, we say a lot, and Srila Prabhupada a lot, that this is just chant Hare Krishna. That's the process, just chant Hare Krishna. But just chant Hare Krishna means chanting Hare Krishna in a particular mood and with a particular goal, with a particular intention. Lord Chaitanya, there are many, even Mayavadis, who chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and their meditation is that they're chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra desiring to attain impersonal Brahman or impersonal realization. There are Karmavadis who are chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in order to attain material benedictions, in order to attain the heavenly planets or some material success. So Krishna is the giver of benediction. He can, Krishna is the ultimate awarder of all benediction. Even that which we receive from the demigods ultimately comes from Krishna. Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita, that ultimately the benedictions that the demigods give ultimately come from me alone. So whatever we get, whether it's in personal perfection, material perfection, or spiritual perfection, ultimately everything comes from Krishna. So through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we can receive any success. We can get spiritual success, material success, impersonal success. And what we receive from the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra depends upon what is our mood in chanting, what is our intention in chanting, what is our goal in chanting, what is our meditation when we chant. So as followers of Lord Chaitanya, one of the first things we need to kind of do is say, well, what is the goal that Lord Chaitanya gave? What is the goal that he established for us? We're his followers. He's the Yuga avatar. Although in another verse, which I was reading, it was also saying that it's also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it describes how the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the incarnation for the age. So Lord Chaitanya is the Yuga avatar, but also he also simultaneously brought another Yuga avatar with him in the form of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So Lord Chaitanya, as the Yuga avatar, he's bringing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He's giving us Krishna in the form of the holy name. But which Krishna is he giving? Lord Chaitanya he's giving the Krishna who is glorified in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He's giving the Krishna who the whole purpose of the the Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for. So, when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we were discussing last night with some of our community members that there is this Paribhasa Sutra. In all great scriptures, there is a verse known as the Paribhasa Sutra, which is like the emperor verse of that book. So, for instance, in the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes it's explained that Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto, and other times Savadhanam Frityagya. But there are certain verses in these books which really establish what is the intention of this book? What is the goal of this book? So the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Emperor verse, and after all that build-up, I don't even know the Sanskrit after all these years, but this verse, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, that all these different incarnations appear, but Krishna is the source of all incarnations, and he appears in order to protect the devotees and to annihilate the miscreants. So I should know it better after all this time. But Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, this is the point, that Krishna is the source of all incarnations. And in the purport to that verse, Srila Prabhupada explains, as he explains in many other places, that the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the reason that the Srimad Bhagavatam exists, is the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the essence of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam are Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. So these pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, this is the reason the Srimad Bhagavatam exists. And everything surrounding the 10th canto, all the 9 cantos leading up to it, and the 2 cantos that follow it, they exist solely for the sake of helping us to really understand, the mood and the purpose of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And all the personalities that exist within the pages of the Bhagavatam, they are directly there within the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is a literary incarnation of Krishna. So all of those devotees and all of the incarnations who appear in the pages of the Bhagavatam, they are personally, directly and completely present within those pages. And they are taking us by the hand. Sutta Goswami is taking us by the hand, and he's passing us to Shukadev Goswami, who is passing us to Maitreya and Vidura, and passing us to Narada Muni, and we're being passed on through all these different personalities. And as we meet each different personality in the Bhagavatam, they are giving us instructions and teachings and revealing pastimes that will prepare different aspects of our consciousness and prepare our heart, clear away all the anarthas in the heart, clear away all the unwanted things. They're preparing our consciousness. They're bringing us one by one to the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then they're placing us at the lotus feet of Krishna in Vrindavan. So this is the purpose of the Bhagavatam, is to bring us to Krishna in Vrindavan. And this is the purpose of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya came to present these teachings of Bhagavat Siddhanta, the conclusion of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra that Lord Chaitanya is giving is Krishna in Vrindavan. This is who he wants to give to us. This is who he wants us to take shelter of. And so chanting the holy name of the Lord should be accompanied by hearing the instructions of Lord Chaitanya, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, reading the pastimes of Krishna, so that when we do chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we actually establish this is the mood, this is the goal, this is the meditation. We were speaking last night with some devotees that, even now after all these years, even when I'm chanting Hare Krishna, sometimes I'll be kind of tormented by some song or something that I used to listen to many years ago. Why? Because I worked really, really, really hard to remember that song. I memorized the lyrics. I listened to it over and over and over and over again. I listened very carefully, trying to pick out what is it that they're saying. Go to the lyric sheet, memorize it, sing it, hear it. I worked so hard to remember that song that here we are 25 years later, and this comes into the mind when I'm chanting. So this is the mood that we have to have with our kind of approach to chanting Hare Krishna. That just like if we're a fan of some rock band, like if we're a real fanboy and we start, reading all the magazines and reading all the trivia and going to the websites and we want to find out everything. What's my favorite rock star's pet dog called? Where does he live? What's his favorite album? what songs inspired him? You find out all these different bits of trivia about your favorite, pop culture personalities, and it becomes like this whole absorption, this whole meditation. So in the same way, we want to chant Krishna's name, but we want to become completely absorbed in the personality of Krishna. What does Krishna look like? What does he dress like? What are the jewels that he wears? What are the clothes that he wears? Where are the places that he goes to? What's his pet He has a pet monkey, he has a pet dog, he has a pet cow. What are their names? We want to know everything about Krishna. So we learn as much as we possibly can about Krishna. We work really, really, really hard to memorize about Krishna, to remember about Krishna, to learn about Krishna. And then when we're chanting Hare Krishna, this is what's going to come into the mind. This will be the meditation when we're chanting. And this will be all that we'll think about when we're chopping the vegetables, when we're clearing the floor of the temple room, when we're dressing Srila Prabhupada or dressing the deities or cooking or whatever it is that we're doing. This will always be the thing that is driving us and motivating us. And this will be the meditation that is completely absorbing our consciousness. So, and similarly, the 10 offenses against the holy name that Srila Prabhupada also describes, it's a lifestyle. The 10 offenses against the holy name, it's not just that, okay, for the next 2 hours, I'm going to chant without offense. For while I'm chanting my japa, I'm going to avoid the 10 offenses. In order to be able to chant offenselessly, it's a lifestyle. Not blaspheming the devotees, not disobeying the orders of the guru, not minimizing the shastras, not committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names. These are all things which we do in the 22 hours prior to chanting. For 22 hours, if we're not avoiding the 10 offenses, then when the hand goes in the bead bag, it's difficult to focus on the japa, it's difficult to meditate on Krishna, it's difficult to remember Krishna. Sometimes, depending on the severity of the offenses that we may or may not have committed, it can even be really difficult to just say the name. I don't know if anyone has that experience. I know I have many, many experiences where it's like, if our dear friend Vidruma Bihari Prabhu, who used to be my Sankirtan leader, he used to say that if devotees are committing offenses and if they're not behaving properly, then it becomes like someone has tied a brick to the tongue. And we're trying to chant Hare Krishna, but it's just so hard to just get the sound vibration of Krishna's name out. And ultimately, the kind of remedy for that is to just continue chanting. If we just continue, and that's Lord Chaitanya's mercy that, ultimately we can hear all this and think, oh boy, what chance is there for me? But Lord Chaitanya's mercy is that if we just go on chanting and just continue chanting, then eventually everything will clear. And actually, even without all the hearing and all the reading, all the studying, Lord Chaitanya can bless us with the pure holy name. And Srila Prabhupada also says that in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where he describes that even if someone just doesn't have a taste for all these other things, but just likes to chant, if they have the right mood. So Trinadapi Sanicina Tarodapi Seshnana, having this right mood of humility. But that mood of humility, that also is very much strengthened by hearing about Krishna, hearing about Krishna's devotees. When we hear about devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj and the followers of Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada, when we hear about these devotees, we realize, wow, who am I? Nothing and no one. So we need to hear about these great personalities. And then we hear about Krishna and about Krishna's glories. And then it's like, in between Krishna's devotees and Krishna himself and Krishna's incarnations, who am I? and yet here I am. So then this makes us feel grateful and hopefully more willing and more kind of enthusiastic to do service. That I haven't done anything. This mercy is so causeless. I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve to be given the title devotee. I don't deserve to be called a devotee. And yet here I am. I'm living in the association of devotees. I look back on my life and think, what kind of a person was I before I came here? And yet still here I am, and Krishna's engaging me in his service. So by hearing about Krishna, by hearing about Krishna's devotees, and meditating on where is our place in all of that, then this makes us more humble. So, reading and studying the books can also help us to develop this mood of humility. So chanting the holy name, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, that's all we have to do. but a particular type of Hare Krishna mantra and a particular mood of chanting. This is what's needed. And to get that, we need to hear, we need to read, we need to associate, we need to do service, we need to have a defenseless lifestyle. So it's a very holistic philosophy. It's very, very holistic. It's that every aspect of our life is engaged in such a way. Our mind is engaged, our intelligence is engaged, our body is engaged, our psychophysical nature is engaged. Everything is engaged in such a way in Krishna's service that when it goes time to putting our hands in our bead bag, this very holistic lifestyle of complete absorption in Krishna consciousness is hopefully going to bring us to this point where eventually when we're chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, all we can think about is Krishna in Vrindavan. And all we want from that chanting is to reach Krishna in Vrindavan. So this is the goal of the chanting. And so by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, reading the Bhagavad Gita, this helps us to develop this consciousness and this mood. So we'll ask the devotees here in the temple if they have any questions, comments, reflections. And while we're doing that, if anyone's watching online who wants to ask any questions or wants to make some comments or give some reflections, then they can type those in while the devotees here are speaking. So, Peter?
I have a question. Thank you for a very nice lecture. I also was considering the few last days, who am I? We often hear from devotees, I'm so fallen, I am the lowest of the lowest, and so on. And from Mayavadis, we hear, I am God, but I cannot believe that we are God, we are just human beings. And I was thinking about who am I and where is my place? So I was thinking maybe somewhere in between. Yeah? Someone thinks, oh, I am God, and someone thinks, oh, I'm the lowest of the lowest. And I think, I don't think so. Maybe I'm just a human being. And what do you think about this?
Well, one of the reflections which I've had on this first Trinada piece in Nichana, that we consider ourselves lower than the straw in the street, it doesn't mean that we have so little self-esteem that we just feel there's absolutely nothing I can do for Krishna. It's more about everything belongs to Krishna, everything comes from Krishna, and everything is to be used in Krishna's service. So we can also be very introspective and see what skills and strengths and abilities has Krishna given me. It doesn't mean that I'm anything special by having those things, because none of them come from me anyway. Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the ability in man. Rasoham apsakuntiya pramasmisa suryas pranavasam vedishu shabdakaram purushamrishu. Purushamrishu means I am the ability in man. So whatever ability we have, it comes from Krishna. So if we're an artist, it doesn't mean I am a great artist. It means Krishna has given me the ability to do this. If someone has an ability to be a manager or a leader, Krishna has given me this nature. Krishna has given me this ability. If someone is great at Sankirtan, or is great at music, or great at whatever they're great at gardening, great at cooking, any ability that we have, any skill that we have comes from Krishna. So we should never think there is nothing that I can do for Krishna. We should more think, what is it that Krishna has given me that I have to use in his service? And we can be quite bold about that in a humble way. Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, he was giving a class, and I didn't see the class, but by the way he was speaking, he was so expressive in his speaking that you could practically see him as he was talking. And he was saying that sometimes devotees hear about humility, and he says their whole body language changes, and he says they start kind of hunching up the shoulders a little bit, and the head goes down, and they start talking in this very kind, it's like we're thinking humility is this kind of physiological thing, that if I walk and I talk this, that means I'm humble. But humility means I don't have anything of my own, but everything comes from Krishna, and everything is to be used in Krishna's service. And any strength and ability I have, it's not me, it's not mine, it doesn't come from me, It's just something that's been given to me by Krishna to be used in Krishna's service. I've got nothing to be proud of. I've got nothing to think that I'm better than someone else because this is a particular skill that Krishna has blessed me with, because it all comes from Krishna. And in that way, we can be quite confident. Rupa Goswami says that confidence is one of the 6 symptoms favorable to devotional service. But confidently humble. It's a balance. It's kind of finding this balance. Don't get me wrong, I haven't worked out the balance. I'm not living the balance. I'm just confident and proud. But we're trying to develop this mood of confidently humble, where everything comes from Krishna. I don't have anything to be proud of, but still, Krishna's given me this. Let me use it in his service. I don't know if that really answers the question, but it's at least a reflection on the question. Would anyone else like to kind of add anything to that, or Prabhupada?
Yeah, Prabhupada gives a nice analogy. He says that a stray dog, even if it's a big stray dog, if he comes across a small dog who has an owner, then the small dog is very confident because its owner is behind it, and can even have more confidence and defeat the big stray dog. So we might be small ourselves, and we may feel that we don't have any power, but because we've got a spiritual master, Prabhupada, the whole Guru Parampara, Lord Chaitanya, and Krishna behind us, and we're confident that what we're presenting is perfect, although we feel that we're not qualified to present it. So Prabhupada gives that, and when you write Marketing Bhagavad Dharma, you brought me here to talk, but I feel unqualified to say anything, but you can make me dance. So we have confidence in what we're presenting and who we represent.
Yeah, that's nice. We just have to, the little dog sometimes gets a little overconfident, and then the owner has to wait. So that's always the possibility. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Any reflections, comments, questions, points?
Yeah, we're talking about the fence against holy name. And it's, I've often wondered, I haven't read somewhere, but I don't know if you have, that the first offence against the holy name is to blessing the devotees, who dedicate their lives to propagation of the holy name of the Lord, etc. So I just wondering if there's a relevance to the fact that that is the first one mentioned, because it seems like it's probably the easiest one we can commit day by day, at least for those who are living within the temple, because they have more opportunity to offend devotees. So just wondering if there's any significant importance to that being the first offence.
I've never read anything, or at least I can't remember reading anything. My brain's like a sieve, but I can't remember reading anything where it specifically speaks about it in relation with the 10 offences. Maybe Harinam Chintamani, it's quite a few years since I've read it, so I don't remember the details. But we do know there's so many times that Krishna and Prabhupada emphasize, that one who says he's my devotee is not my devotee, but one who says he's the devotee of my devotee is my devotee. This is Krishna speaking to Arjuna. And then there are so many other places where Krishna kind of emphasizes this point that, the devotees are more dear to him than his own life. I am in the heart of my devotee is in my heart. And so over and over again, Krishna and the Acharyas emphasize this point that the devotees are the most dear to Krishna, and that in order to become a devotee of Krishna, we have to become a devotee of the devotee of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya says the same thing, Gopi Bhatu Padakamale or Das Dasanudas, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant, and this is Lord Chaitanya speaking, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant. So to become the servant of the holy name means that we have to become the servant of the holy name, because whatever form that Krishna takes, whether it's the deity or the Bhagavatam or the holy name or whatever way in which Krishna appears, how Krishna appears is a detail, but the principle is that Krishna's saying, if you want to be my devotee, be the devotee of my devotee. So to be the devotee of the holy name means that we are devotee of the holy name. So serving the devotees and not blaspheming the devotees would be a big part of being able to get the mercy of the holy name. So would you like to expand on that, or is that? Anyone else like to? Actually, you remember anything from Harinam Chintamani? You studied that a little. You remember anything that Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about the first offence, particularly in that context?
Shoot, man, I was just going to say nothing.
And he says it's usually the beginning or the last one for emphasis. So, and then he said Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur and it was Jiva Goswami was saying that they immediately went to Sadhu Ninda. Sadhu Ninda is the main offence that slows the devotees down. And the first one, and because the Acharyas talk about offenceless chanting, but they didn't mention any of the other 9 offences. And also, Sri Brahmas was saying it's very rare that there are devotees going to equate the names of the demigods or blaspheme the literatures. So, maybe he'll maintain material attachments a little bit, but apart from that, his main offence will be Sadhu Ninda, making offences to the devotees. And I was just reflecting on that this morning because you may not realize you've offended the devotee. You may have all your justifications for the way you're behaving, and that's fine. And so in your world, you can justify it. But the holy name will be offended if you've offended the devotee, and you may not be aware of that. And that's the pressure of being in a communal. I mean, the benefit is that collectively we all gain so much benefit from all the devotional service we're doing together. But the downside is that you could be offending without being aware of it. And there's a story, it's not like that, where Goswami did offend someone. And it was when they didn't turn up for the feast that he realized it was him, because the devotee was deformed and he'd laughed. And he wasn't laughing at him, he was laughing at something going on, but the devotee took offense. So, kind of highlights how careful we have to be.
Familiarity breeds contempt, so especially when you're living in the association of anyone, but especially devotees, then there's always the danger of over-familiarity. And forgetfulness, because devotees by nature are kind of friendly and jovial, and so it's easy to forget that, okay, I'm associated with someone here that's been around for like 30 or 40 years, that's been performed so much sacrifice, austerity, and but because I can kind of have a laugh and a joke with them, you kind of forget, actually, this is a very senior Vaishnava. Are there any points online, anything at all? No, okay. Okay, so thank you so much. We'll stop there. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Sri Koda Nitai Mayapusha ki jai, Nitai Gaur Namanandi.
Sri Ramananda Prabhu ki jai.